This isn't just another Samsung update rolling out in the background. One UI 9 feels like Samsung quietly rebuilding the entire phone experience from the ground up, while most people are still stuck arguing about One UI 8.5. And the strange part is, nothing here looks dramatic at first glance, but the more you connect the pieces, the more it starts to feel like your Galaxy phone is learning a completely new way to operate. It starts with something deceptively simple, sharing files. But instead of the usual tap through menus or waiting for devices to show up, One UI 9 introduces a near-instant tap-to-share system where you bring two devices close, roughly within NFC range, and the transfer begins in under a second through Quick Share. No extra steps, no confirmation screens. And what makes it more interesting is that internal builds show this behaving almost like a revival of Samsung's old S-Beam idea, just rebuilt for modern chip speeds and multi-device compatibility. It's familiar, but faster, cleaner, and almost invisible. Then the lock screen starts feeling different in a way you can't ignore. Music playback is no longer just static controls sitting on your wallpaper. Now there's a live waveform animation reacting in real time to the audio, updating fluidly at around 60 frames per second. The Now bar also shifts into a darker, more immersive design, almost like Samsung is trying to turn your lock screen into a mini media hub instead of just a notification layer. It's subtle, but it changes the entire mood of the interface. And then, One UI 9 starts cleaning up the system itself. The About Phone page, one of the most ignored sections in Android, is getting a full visual restructure. Early leaks show Samsung shrinking the device image by nearly 40% and moving it to the corner, so core details like IMEI, model info, and storage are immediately visible without scrolling. It sounds boring on paper, but in practice, it removes that cluttered "why is this even here" feeling Samsung has had for years. But the real shift begins when AI starts blending into everyday actions. In the photo editor, One UI 9 introduces floating AI suggestions that appear contextually depending on your image. You're not digging through tools anymore. The system actively suggests edits like object removal, lighting correction, or background cleanup. And early firmware testing shows these suggestions triggering in under 2 seconds, which makes the whole process feel almost instant, like the phone is editing before you even decide. Even the smallest details get reworked. The settings search bar now has a soft, elastic animation that expands and collapses in roughly 200 milliseconds, replacing the stiff motion from previous versions. It doesn't change functionality at all, but it changes perception. Everything suddenly feels more responsive, more fluid, almost like the UI is breathing instead of snapping. Widgets are also getting a visual reset. Corners are less aggressively rounded, shifting toward a slightly flatter design language, and Samsung is reportedly testing adjustable radius levels so users can tune the look instead of being locked into one style. Meanwhile, in the Gallery app, multi-photo selection becomes far more intuitive. Every selected image gets stacked into a visible selection tray that can hold up to 15 items, eliminating the constant back-and-forth scrolling just to remember what you tapped. Then, Samsung Internet takes a surprisingly aggressive leap forward. A new smart shopping system begins scanning your cart and page context to automatically detect and apply coupon codes based on region and purchase behavior. If it works reliably, it removes one of the most annoying parts of online shopping entirely, manually hunting discounts that may or may not even work. And right next to it, there's a new Ask AI button that lets you query the contents of a web page directly without leaving the tab. Instead of copying text into another app, you just ask and get answers in seconds. On top of that, Samsung Internet finally supports multiple browser windows side by side, pushing it closer to desktop behavior than mobile browsing. Now here's where everything quietly clicks together. One UI 9 isn't just adding features, it's restructuring how tasks flow across the phone. Sharing becomes instant, editing becomes predictive, browsing becomes conversational, and multitasking starts behaving like a lightweight desktop environment. Even mid-range Galaxy devices begin to feel less like phones and more like compact workstations. And that's the real shift nobody is talking about yet, because if One UI 9 fully lands the way these leaks suggest, Samsung isn't just refining Android, it's slowly rebuilding it into something that behaves less like an operating system and more like an assistant that runs your entire device. The real question now is simple. Are users ready for a phone that starts making decisions for them before they even open an app? And if Samsung keeps pushing this direction, One UI 10 might not just be an upgrade, it could be a completely different category of smartphone experience altogether.